Good afternoon, everyone. Good evening. Good morning. Good day, whenever you're seeing this. If you are a returning subscriber, welcome back, Owlets. Happy to see you back. Thank you for becoming a regular. If you are new here, hi. My name is BlueNightt. I am a witch who's been practicing for many years, who just wants to share some of my practice with the world and how it might differ or may not differ. This is going to be a video that perhaps people will be like, what? and jump back on me for. And that's okay. And I'm prepared. Let's talk about the moon. At the time I'm making this video, we are pretty much in between the major phases of the new moon and the full moon. You can go online, you can dive into any book about witchcraft and very easily find yourself a ritual for why do we as witches connect with the moon. I can't answer for everybody, but I can answer for myself specifically. For me, the moon and the sun have always been really important, as you know, they tend to be from the beginning, childhood, right? I've mentioned in my videos about how I became a witch that I've always held certain correspondences with the sun, or well, with things like numbers and letters and colors, that sort of thing. So it only makes sense that I would also do the same for the moon and the sun, etc., etc., etc. I also grew up watching Sailor Moon and, you know, different things like that. Twitches was really cool in school. Anyway, the science of it all is that the moon is a satellite going around the earth that reflects the light of the sun. Blah, 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 blah. This also is not a science class. The moon and the sun are associated with gods since the beginning of time, you know, ancient cultures and all of that. So it really just makes sense in a modern practice that we would revere the moon to hold some kind of magic power or ability or what have you. So again, this is less to teach you about the moon, because you can go out and buy a book, or you can do your own research online and you can learn the history and all of that. I'm here to tell you how I like to work with the moon, specifically the full and the new moons. Now, why am I discussing the new moons? Well, because the new moons, or the dark moons, I don't think get nearly enough credit as they should. A lot of conversation is always sparked up about the full moon because, oh, it's so bright and so pretty, and oh, that's the time of witchcraft, and you know, we would meet under the full moon, da 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 da, and werewolves and blah 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 blah. But the dark moon, I think, is just as potent in power, and I don't think that she gets enough credit. All right, so for the full moon, there's, of course, the lunar dance you can do, the cone of power, which, if you don't know much about that, read a little bit into the history of Wicca, and you'll learn a little bit more there. But also, for me, the full moon has always been a time of any spellcraft, power at its height, to get things done. It's a time to really sit down and tie up loose ends magically. I'll be honest, for me, chaotically speaking, it's kind of I didn't start the ritual at the beginning of the new moon, so let's just get it done during the full moon. It's, which is procrastination, I guess, which maybe also lends a little bit to why it's such a big deal, because it's the end of a cycle. Maybe it's the real procrastination magic at work. But I also want to talk about the new moon, because the new moon, the dark moons, there's a lot of hidden potential there. So much, in fact, that some people avoid the dark moons or working on dark moons. You know, full moons are all about being able to see clearly. So divination is more so encouraged, I think, during full moons than new moons. But as a practitioner of witchcraft who looks at things from as many perspectives and as I can, the dark moon is just as natural as the full moon. I tend to do more of my spell work during a dark moon than a full moon. And I think the reason why is because as a Cancer sun, I enjoy the cycle of things. I also vibe with ritual spell work a little bit more. So to me, if I can think to myself, okay, on this day I have to do this part of the spell, but on this day, 2 days later, I need to do this part. That intention of timing also lines up correctly for me, or I vibe with that, I guess. So it's like the new moon or the dark moon is like the planting of the seed, and then as the moon grows in size, so does the power of the ritual or the spell, what have you. But that's just me. I feel like everybody also has different ideas or opinions on the correspondences for each moon phase. So like I've also heard things like you want to bless and, you know, when you want to bring something to you or gain something or bless something, you want to use magic during the waxing phases of the moon, which are from the dark moon to the full moon. But then if you want to banish or, you know, do away or what have you, you want to do the opposite, which is go for the waning phases of the moon, which is from full to the dark moon. But then also there's that part of me that's a little neurospicy, and I'm like, but actually aren't they both also intertwined? And, you know, the bottom line is that it's all the moon. It's all the same moon. So like, does it matter? Really? Do we need to put that much thought? And I guess this goes along with kind of like the days of the week correspondences too.
It's bad luck to start a journey on a Friday, mate.
Saturday. It's bad luck to start a journey on a Saturday.
Tuesday?
No, it's Sunday to be sure.
Fine. It's late. I'll just find somebody to drive me in the morning.
For me, it's always a thing of like, timing is important and should be, you know, we should look at that because that's what witchcraft is. It's a study of nature and how we can use that nature to affect the nature of our world, right? But also the moon is always there. It's always in the sky, even if you can't see her. So the vibes are always there, I guess. And I guess the idea, I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking too deeply into this. Maybe. I don't know. This might be a really short video. It really might be. The moon, for me, is more of a calendar. My go-to calendar. For me to decide when to do things appropriately. So let's say I get a hair up my and I'm like, I need to cast a spell very soon. The first thing I do is I go, okay, what phase of the moon am I on now? So for example, let's look at a spell I cast for a job. not too long ago. So when I was looking to cast a spell for a job, the first thing I did was I looked at the season that I was in, which at the time was spring. And I thought to myself, this is a perfect time to do this spell because we were in early spring and we were coming up close to a dark moon phase. So I thought, okay, spring is great because of, things growing and blooming and, plenty, seeds, stuff like that, pollen. I was thinking like more sexually, to be honest. And then there was also the dark moon phase, which I was thinking is great because for me, the dark moon is an ending, but it's also the beginning. It's like the death card of tarot, right? So I planned it around that. I also realized that the dark moon was on a specific day that worked for me. And by specific day, I mean day of the week. So lastly, I look at correspondences of the days of the week and see if they, work with me or whatever. Very rarely do I think I'm going to cast a spell and go right into it, though it has happened, depending on the timing of things. Like if I think, I think I'm going to cast a spell and I look at the timing and the timing is just too perfect, I can't ignore that. But typically that's how I, use the moon. I use it as a, when is it best for me to do the working that I want to do? And I guess I do that because I'm a Cancer sun sign. Like, I don't know if anyone else uses the moon as their immediate direct planner for spellcasting or ritual work. I also tend to, like, if I'm going to do things or celebrate things, I tend to plan them on full moons, like my wedding, for example. I planned on a full moon just because A, the pictures, and B, the vibes, and, it just seemed better at the time. Yeah, that's how I use the moon. I mean, I know it's not very mystical sounding, I guess. It's kind of straightforward, but it's the truth. Anyway, I hope you liked this video. Bye.